First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my stepsister and mom that even though her mom died, I also lost my mom too? When I was 6, my mom remarried to my stepdad. He had a 3-year-old daughter and his wife passed away in a car accident a year before. Even that young, I could tell my mother's attention was not on me, but my stepsister. She catered to her every need, saying it's because she needs a mother figure, which I get. She was enrolled in many sports as a kid while I wasn't in any because there wasn't even money. She did 3, I did none. My mom would buy her the newest clothes and shoes and technology, and I would have her hand-me-downs. She basically treated my stepsister like her daughter, and I was an afterthought. While my stepsister had my mom and her dad, I had nobody. My dad was never in my life. They would go on family vacations without me. My stepdad loved that my mom prioritized his daughter over me. When I was 10, they decided they couldn't give my stepsister the attention she deserved with me in the house, so they sent me away to live with my aunt in a different state. For 3 years, my mom had basically no contact with me. I would answer the phone and it was always my stepdad or stepsister. My stepsister would say her mom's busy and hang up. She would tell me to stop calling because if my mom wanted to talk to me, she wouldn't have sent me away. I went 6 months without talking to my mom once. My aunt hated my mom for the way she treated me and told me I deserved better, so she basically became a surrogate parent. When I was 13, she ended up passing away from complications from a disease she had been suffering from. I was so heartbroken, and my mom reluctantly allowed me to move back in after consulting with other family members to see if they would take me. I tried to justify it to myself as a teen that maybe she just doesn't want to be a mom, but she was a mom to my stepsister. She would post her accomplishments in social media, parade her around the family as her golden child. She even said she thinks my stepsister looks more like her than I do. I remember as a kid before they got married, my mom was so attentive and loving. Then she chose my stepdad and stepsister over me. I'm now 16 and I hate my life because of them 3. My stepsister is a witch, and whenever I bring up the differences in which we're treated, she says her mom is dead and I'm selfish for not wanting to share my mom. Yesterday, we got into an argument after she went through my clothes, and she said I'm unwanted and that my mom is more of a mom to her than she is to me, in front of my mom who smiled and looked at me to see how I would react. I said, your mom might have died, but I also lost my mom too. You can have her, I'm already an orphan in my eyes. My stepsister started crying saying that I'm disgusting for saying my mom is gone, when actually it's her mom that died. My mom co-signed and said I should be ashamed of myself for trying to make it seem like I don't have a mom, and I'm an a-hole for the comparison. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your mom literally abandoned you. She just doesn't like being called out. Play hurtful games, win hurtful prizes. Not the a-hole. But remember, you are trapped with these people for 2 more years. Don't make your life harder for momentary happiness of small digs. They don't care, and you can always suffer more. You are trapped with monsters, but the second you can leave, do. This, OP, I know 2 years seems like forever at 16. But you're strong and you can do it. Suck it up for now. Keep your head down, keep your mouth shut as much as you can. Study hard and stay out of trouble. Talk to any adult you can trust that might help in putting a plan in place to get the hell out of there once you turn 18. Try to think about the things you like and are good at. School counselors may be able to help you figure out how to turn that into a career and start you on that path. And once you're free, cut ties and never look back. Even if things are hard, you're going to find amazing friends and you can make your own family. Life gets so much better when you find your tribe and have a support network. It sucks, but you don't need them and they don't deserve you. Not the a-hole at all. Your ma doesn't have the right to call herself your mom. She gave that away when she decided she wasn't going to pay attention to you. You have every reason to be angry. I'm sorry for your loss. I'd be tempted to call her by her first name from now on for that exact reason. But as someone else wisely said, you've got 2 years left. Don't make it harder on yourself. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for giving my daughter the larger room when her stepsisters share a room? When I first moved out of my parents' house into my own apartment, I bought myself a decent queen-sized bedroom set, wooden bed frame with headboard, dresser, 2 nightstands, a storage ottoman, a vanity table, and a bookcase. I bought decent quality stuff so that it would last, and it has. When I moved in with my now husband, We had to get a larger bed anyway, and he wanted fresh stuff, so there was the question of what to do with my furniture. My daughter was turning 4 and was starting to grow out of her crib/toddler bed anyway, so I arranged it in what would be her room and moved her out of her crib to that. There was only one room aside from the master that would fit the set, so she ended up with the larger of the 2 other upstairs bedrooms. My husband's 2 older daughters would be sharing a room, and the even smaller bedroom off of the finished basement would be a guest room/office. Since the 3rd upstairs room is smaller, we have bunk beds in there to save space. The girls have now seen that my daughter not only has a bigger room, but has grown-up furniture, and they and their mother are launching accusations of favoritism. This just isn't true. They are adamant that we should at the very least be putting her in a twin-sized bed instead of having one child be a literal queen with a larger bed, or even throw out an entire set of furniture to move her into the smaller room and have the 2 older girls share the larger room. That's so expensive and wasteful, and I just don't see the point. 1, they're only here 50% of the time. I don't see the point of dedicating the larger bedroom or 2 separate bedrooms to kids who are only here half of the time. 2, this furniture wasn't bought specifically for her, and this is the only bedroom it would fit in with space to walk around. It literally has to go in this room or be thrown away. 3, while it is more adult, she will be able to grow into it, instead of us constantly having to update furniture as she grows out of it. The furniture is also less than 7 years old, so throwing it away would be wasteful. Am I just seeing this wrong? My daughter's father, the only other person in real life this has been discussed with yet, and I were both only children. But even still, throwing away perfectly fine furniture because of perception would just not happen. It's just a bedroom set. Now for the top comments. You gave a queen bed set to a 4-year-old, while 2 older, presumably larger, children are sharing a smaller room with twin beds? You're the a-hole. Doesn't matter if they're only here half the time, that's still a lot of time and you are clearly showing favoritism, even if you aren't doing so intentionally. Either sell the queen bed set or make the queen bed a guest room and move your daughter into the smallest room with a twin bed. Since she is smallest, it isn't fair to give her even more space than 2 larger children. Plus, a lot of kids who split time end up feeling like they don't really have a home because they get downgraded because they're only here half the time. You're the a-hole. You are trying to rationalize favoring one kid. That rarely ends well. Try to think about it from their point of view. They have to share a small room with bunk beds because you consider them guests that stay with you every other week, instead of kids that are part of your family. Also, the set doesn't have to stay together. Pieces can go in other rooms. Exactly this. Imagine being a kid who has to go somewhere where it clearly isn't welcome and others are treated way better. You better try damn hard to make them feel welcome in the future if you don't want to end as the bitter stepmom everyone hates, including your daughter, who will be resented by them and will eventually notice who is at fault for this. You're the a-hole. I could see if they were there only for the occasional visit, but they live there half the time. You are being terribly unfair. Either give each girl their own room, or sell the furniture and put the older girls in the big bedroom. What you would probably do if they were all equal in your eyes, though, is to give the 10-year-old the small room alone and put the younger 2 in a room together. You have several options better than what you are currently doing. When you decide to make it right, let the girls help choose the decor as much as you can. They deserve to feel at home and valued. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to accept a deal with my parents that would benefit my sister? My stepsister and I will take the SAT again for school. I've already taken it before and gotten a 1500. My sister got 1100. Our parents, to motivate us, gave us a deal that would be put in motion if we both accepted. If we got 50 plus points, then they will give us money based on our increase. If we don't reach our goal, then we'll get more chores. I find this horrendously unfair, and I didn't accept it. My thinking is that it's much harder to get a 1500 to a 1550 than an 1100 to 1150. You'll obviously get some sort of logistic growth in terms of effort. I didn't accept the deal because I honestly think it's unfair, and I probably will not get significantly higher than last time. Scores this high will taper out, and there is that random chance factor. My stepsister is honestly pissed at me. She says she's been studying for a long time and that she has really worked hard for the test. I honestly don't care. I shouldn't be punished for having a higher score. Once again, it's much harder to improve a higher score than a lower one. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I can see giving some kind of incentive for increasing your score, but punishing for not is unreasonable. Your parents are being a-holes. These parents are weird. Not the a-hole. I wouldn't have agreed to it either. Your parents could just propose different things for you both. Your stepsister might be pissed, but she will get over it. Don't fret. And it's clear why you scored 1500 on the first pass. Excellent critical thinking skills. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You are thinking logically from your standpoint. You have high score and you do not believe that you could improve your score. Hats off to your sister for studying, but that's her, not you. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom she no longer makes the rules? At the time, I was 26. I had a job and I was saving money to get a place of my own. My dad suffered from sciatica that put him out of work for a while. So we all had to stay home to take care of him. During that period of time, I didn't do anything except work and come home. So I figured, considering that I'm the only employed person in the house, maybe I deserve a little privacy when my dad didn't need to be attended to. Boy, was I wrong. My mother and I got into a big argument over the fact that my bedroom door was closed. She asked me why I had closed the door, and I told her that I just wanted some privacy. My mother replied to this by saying, "You don't have any privacy in this house." At this point, I'm annoyed, and I said, "Then this isn't a house, it's a prison." My mother looked stunned at this, and then she asked what made me say that. I told her that not having any privacy is the same thing correctional officers tell inmates in prison, and that if she didn't believe me, that she should ask Dad, since he used to be a correctional officer. She just looked at me and said, "Well, if you don't like it, you can pack up your stuff and go." And that's exactly what I did. It took a while, little less than a year. But my dad's sciatica had healed up quite a bit, and he was able to walk around on his own to do a lot of things. By this time, I already had my own place. My mother was upset that I didn't tell her that I was saving money for my own place, but eventually her love changed, and she wound up being happy that I was finally out on my own. Fast forward a few months. My mother calls me and tells me that their SSI got cut off, so they needed a place to stay until they get their benefits back. I immediately tell them to come over. We might not have agreed on a lot of things, but I didn't want to see them homeless. For about a month or so, things were working out fine. My dad's sciatica has healed enough to where he was able to get a job as a security guard. Then things went a little sour. One day, I come home and I noticed that some things weren't the same as they were when I left earlier that day. For clarification, here's what I saw. 1. I accumulated a good selection of horror movies. Halloween, Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw, etc. Those were gone. 2. My bedroom door was closed when I left, and now it's open. I asked my mom what happened to my movies and why my bedroom door was open. Here's what she said. "I told you we don't close doors, and horror movies are gateway for demons, so I got rid of them." I then replied by saying that when I was living in their house, I had to go by their rules. Now they're living in my house, and they're still trying to make the rules. And they can't do that when they're in someone else's house. My mother said that I'm always supposed to obey her no matter how old I get. She also said that what I said was disrespectful and rude. I love my mom, but I'm not sure if she's right. What do you guys think? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Wow, just wow. She's a guest in your house. This is not okay, no matter if she's your mother or not. For those of you wondering about my dad's point of view in this situation, he does in fact choose not to get involved. Not the a-hole. In this house, we watch Evil Dead 2 during Thanksgiving dinner. And if I hear any backtalk, we'll wash down dinner with a big glass of Reanimator. Now if you'll excuse me, I'll be in my room pleasuring myself with the door closed. Lol, if he's bold enough, do it with the door open, and maybe she'll start closing them herself. Not the a-hole. It's your place. Hit them with the "do you pay bills around here to be making decisions?" and keep it moving. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling someone to F off? At my fiancé's work, there is an attractive guy. My fiancé and her friend were talking about him, and apparently the friend tried to convince my fiancé to cheat. She refused and told me. I visited her at work recently, and this friend began telling me that we should have an open relationship, and I'm holding my fiancé back. I mostly laughed it off at first and told her I wasn't comfortable with that kind of relationship. She kept pushing, so I told her, Can you F off? I barely even know your name, lady. Your opinion does not matter to me. She got mad and called me an a-hole. My fiancé was mad I treated her friend that way because she was joking. Am I the a-hole for getting mad? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. There is a time and place to tell someone to F off, and this is clearly a great example of where it's the right response. Where you need to fix things with your fiancé is to make it clear that you don't intend to pick her friends, but that you don't have to like them either, and to make sure this lady gives you a wide berth moving forward. If your fiancé can't support you on this, there are other issues in your relationship that need some work. Also, I would discuss with the fiancé how people that egg her to cheat are definitely not friends. Not the a-hole. Your fiancé is severely naive if she thinks that person is a friend. A friend doesn't try to get you to cheat, and definitely doesn't try to ruin a relationship with her friend's fiancé. Yeah, but she has a lot of insecurities when it comes to her friends. She had a huge friend group all of school, and then all of them stopped texting her back but kept hanging out without her. So she takes any friend she can get, which leads to situations like this. Not the a-hole. I was just joking is an a-hole code for I wasn't joking, but I want to make you feel like you're not allowed to be upset by anything I say. I hate hearing it's just a joke or some other version of that. I grew up with someone who was mentally abusive and that was their favorite line. It's not a joke if no one is laughing. It's just that person being an a-hole. This woman is not a friend. And it's possible she's trying to get Opie's fiancé to cheat because she can't. Or maybe she's trying to get other people to validate her own choices by dragging them into adultery as well. Either way, this is not a woman who Opie's fiancé should be associating with. Opie is not the a-hole, and his fiancé needs to reconsider if this is someone she wants to associate with. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for arguing with my fiancé after she read my late fiancé's diary? My, male 34, late fiancé passed away from brain tumor 3 years ago. I had known her most of my life. We grew up together and were engaged for 2 years. We wanted to get married sooner, but she got sick and never recovered after that, despite doing all we could to fight this god-awful disease. My late fiancé had a diary that I gifted her right after she was diagnosed. She was the type that get very emotional and would have a difficulty expressing her feelings and opening up about her issues. She was very thankful I brought her the diary, and she told me I was the only one who really understood what she needed and how she felt. I'd see her spending a lot of time writing in her diary, whether at the hospital or at home. I never read it while she was alive, but she let me have it a week before she passed away. I had a hard time looking at it, and I left it untouched for over a year after her death. That's when I started reading it. I brought it up in therapy, and it helped me tremendously. I don't have much of her stuff, but I still have her diary with me. I'm now engaged to my fiancé, who I met via a mutual friend, and she was wonderful when I met her. My current fiancé and I are open to each other. We talk about what bothers us all the time, but at the same time, there are things that I'd rather not share nor talk about. I'm getting better at communicating, but I'm taking my time. My current fiancé knows about my late fiancé's diary. Despite her asking to see it, and I have no idea why she'd want that, but I made it clear that I have no intentions on sharing what's in it with her. It's not like it's a secret, but I know my late fiancé would want me to keep it that way. My fiancé kept bringing it up, knowing how uncomfortable that made me feel. And yesterday, I got home and found out that she took the diary and read it. I was absolutely pissed, and she didn't even deny it. Even tried to argue with me about why I was lashing out at her, even though she disrespected my boundaries. She even refused to acknowledge that couples should have personal boundaries. I yelled at her for being so inconsiderate and for touching the diary in the first place. She got upset that I reacted like this and refused to talk to me for hours. She's currently staying at her friend's house saying that I was being harsh on her. Now for the top comments. Not a hole. She disrespected and violated your boundaries. And personally for me, this would be near instant breakup worthy. Couples therapy is for couples who have trouble understanding each other. There's no gray area here. You said to not read a diary because it's personal, and she violated that very simple request. She's shown she's comfortable violating your comfort zone to make herself feel better. My husband has a diary and the engagement ring from his fiancée before me. She died of cancer. I have never asked to see it. He showed me the ring once, gorgeous, and it has remained in its box inside a keepsake box for our 14-year relationship. Around year 10, he asked if I wanted to read it, and I said no. I cannot begin to imagine the mindless obsession, insecurity on her part, and lies she has told herself and her friend to justify this. Not an a-hole. She can stay there. WTF, did she think to glean from this? Honestly, it's such a breach of trust and boundaries that I don't think you can come back from that. I had no idea why she wanted to look at it so badly, even after I already told her how I felt. Still, she did what she wanted to do eventually, and thinks I'm the one at fault for how I reacted. I have no energy left to be dealing with this much stress and pressure. I'm just tired, and I wish she could see what she did was wrong and unacceptable. Not a hole. I would seriously reconsider marrying someone with so little respect for boundaries. This 100%. She owes you a huge apology and she needs counseling. You might benefit too. You have to look at this rationally. She does not respect you, your feelings, or your belongings. Then she tries to turn it around on you. That's gaslighting. Please, seriously, consider whether you want to move forward with this person. The next story is titled, My 28 female, ex 28 male, chose his best friend, 28 female, over me, and now is upset and moving on. I had a 2-year relationship with Andrew, which ended 1.5 years ago when I had finally had enough of him taking his rude, passive-aggressive best friends, we'll refer to her as Chloe, side over mine, constantly. I gave him an ultimatum to pick her or me, and he chose her. So we broke up. I reconnected with my ex Dante shortly after this happened. Dante and I dated for 5 years but broke up because he wanted to be child-free and I didn't. He since changed his mind, and we got engaged a week ago. I posted about it on Facebook, and a few hours later, Andrew sent me a message saying he couldn't believe I had moved on so quickly, how he always knew I didn't love him as much as Dante, how he thought we would get back together once I calmed down, how I had betrayed him, etc. Chloe sent me a long message apologizing for the things she has said/done to me, and said Andrew was just being a good guy by trying to help us become friends instead of enemies. She said Andrew had become very depressed since seeing my post, as everyone always thought we would end up together. She ended it by asking me to give him a second chance. I haven't replied to either because I genuinely don't know what to say. I've had a few other friends tell me Andrew is in a really bad state and he feels awful for how things ended between us. They've all asked me to speak to him to help give him closure, but I really don't know what to say. What do I do? Now for the top advice. You don't owe him closure. You don't owe him crap. If you truly want to marry Dante, it'd be in your best interest to block him and Chloe and move on. Agreed on this. No response is a response. Leave them on read. He is a grown-ass adult. He needs to deal with his feelings, not pawn them off on you to fix. You broke up over a year and a half ago, not your circus anymore. Talking to him now will really just drag you into that whole situation again. Unless you want to leave your fiancé for him, I would stay away. I don't even understand why OP is faced. Andrew and Chloe are just people you used to know. Block them all. To hell with haters. Enjoy the hell out of your new fiancé. 1. He expected you come begging to him after the breakup, which you never did. 2. He realized how badly you were treated by his best friend after the breakup, but didn't have the balls to apologize. 3. He hates that you are not unhappy and crying like him. 4. He finally burst out to his close friend that it was her fault, so she apologized after years. Edit. Just realized that I was commenting in wrong sub. Sorry, but points are still valid. Yes, he made his choice a year and a half ago. Good on you for leaving him and expecting better. Tell your fiancé everything. Let him read the messages, and then block both the ex and his friend. He chose her, so he can get closure from her. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for anonymously reporting my fiancé to her hospital? I, male 33, been with my fiancé, female 32, for 6 years in total. She's a doctor and has been working at the local hospital for 3 years after moving from another town. We'd argue sometimes over different matters, but nothing major or too serious, until now. Now, I'm not the type that calls every other hour whenever she's away or anything. I give her her space and I respect her privacy. I never really tried to even ask how her day at work was because she likes to keep work/personal life separate. Understandably so, but things have changed. I noticed there was this guy who has been a patient under her care who always gets brought up. For example, she'd have his number and call him outside of work. I was surprised when I heard her talking about him to a close female friend of hers. And when I asked, she told me patient confidentiality, so I shouldn't ask who this guy is. I basically knew nothing about him other than he receives treatment under her care. That's it. I tried to let it go and thought nothing of it. But I couldn't ignore her interest in this particular patient after she started contacting him during late times at night for long periods. I just confronted her, and she lashed out saying I was trying to get involved in her job and trying to control her. I ended up reporting her anonymously after she behaved like this. And I did my best to not make her feel like I had anything to do with it, but she came home and yelled at me, telling me that I was behind the issue she had at work, and that the hospital officials have spoken with her and got the patient involved as well after they received a complaint against her. She somehow knew and yelled at me for wanting to ruin her career by being petty. She refused to sit down and talk, packed her things and left. She told me to not try to contact her because she wanted to rethink being with someone who has no regard for her hard work. I tried to explain to her, but she keeps lashing out at me. I felt absolutely terrible, but her reaction wasn't fair to me at least. She didn't even think how her behavior was affecting me and kept calling me petty. Info: I was able to determine exactly which patient she was talking to her friend about by talking to her friend. Otherwise, I wouldn't have felt strongly that something was going on. Her friend told me that my fiancé mentions his patient a lot and talks about him in details. She'd get so defensive whenever I tried to have a conversation with her about this issue and make sure I get zero answers. Also, whenever she's on the phone with him, she'd walk out and stay gone for a long time, then stays quiet afterwards. Honestly, at this point, it's pretty obvious, and I feel so bad that she's behaving like this now after 6 years. I've never seen her act like this ever. I have an awful feeling, and I just can't take it. Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. Your behavior was petty. If you suspected cheating, you should have talked about your concerns with her or just left, not called her job in an obvious attempt to get her in trouble or fired. There isn't enough info, but the problem is that there's some reason to believe the doctor was engaging in a massive ethical boundary crossing with a patient. If that is what is happening, it should be reported to the authorities for the protection of the patient and the public. You're the a-hole. I notice you don't say what kind of doctor she is. Either way, you reported her anonymously, which means you already knew you were being an a-hole and you just didn't want to commit to your a-holery. Doesn't matter, still an a-hole. That's a bit of a leap. People report things anonymously because they don't want to face blowbacks. Sometimes the blowback is justified, but often it isn't. I swear, I just saw a post on here where OP was told anonymously reporting her sister to CPS was a good move, because then she wouldn't get cut off from the kids and she would keep an eye on them. You're the a-hole. It sounds to me like you reported her out of jealousy. It's not clear here that she was acting unprofessionally or breaking patient confidentiality/HIPAA. Calling a patient outside of work and talking about a patient, if she's not sharing protected information, is not grounds for her being reported. It sounds like you were insecure, and instead of trying again to have a mature conversation with her or giving her an ultimatum, etc., you took it out on her career. Dating a patient is not okay either. Either she is acting within her job description and the issue will be dropped, or she isn't and needs to be stopped. It does seem like she is violating ethical bounds or HIPAA. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you with the next one. Stay safe.